So if you put both revenue together, it's. No. People forgot. They don't talk. We're good. Yep. Ready.
Gentlemen, we're good.
There you are, sir.
I'm ready. Danielle. Nope. I know Danielle, and that is not Danielle. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our December 12th Town Council meeting. First order of business is evacuation procedures. We do have a full house or almost a full house. In the event of an emergency, please exit the 2 doors. Tonight, you get a police escort if necessary. We also have one in the front. We would meet across the street at the school administration building and await further instruction. With that, if we could all stand for our pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for our men and women serving in harm's way. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which is there, one nation. Thank you all. Okay, just want to cover a couple of quick housekeeping. We are live streaming tonight. So those of you that are participating remotely via Zoom or dialing in, if you're on Zoom, there's an icon to raise your hand. If you're calling in, *9 will indicate to us that you have a question. *6 will allow you to mute and unmute your phone. Anybody wishing to participate tonight, either remotely or in person, please state your name and address clearly for the town clerk. And with that, we will begin with our roll call.
Mr. Katzman,
Aye, here, sorry.
Mr. Gleason.
Here.
Here. Nope, still not on.
Just right off. There you go.
Here.
Mr. Hamilton,
Here.
Mr. Levesque,
Yeah.
Dr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Aguirre.
Here. Okay, next we have our president's executive summary. Just actually want to welcome our new council members to the council. It's our first meeting with the new council members after the election. So welcome, and we'll get things kicked off. First item tonight is presentations and recognition. First item is our Portsmouth Police Department swearing in ceremony for Michael Morris.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto the state and support the laws and constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the office of Deputy Police Chief for the term for which you've been appointed, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom?
I do.
Congratulations.
Our next item is a proclamation of appreciation in recognition of the Wilkinson retirement. So I believe Katie is here. If you could meet me at the podium.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're
I was
both here.
told.
Yep,
Sorry.
no, change of plans.
Well, thank you both for showing up. tonight. All right, proclamation of congratulations. The town council, on behalf of the citizens of the town of Portsmouth, wish to extend our thanks and appreciation to Catherine and Donald Wilkinson on the occasion of their retirement following their many years of dedicated public service as the managers of the Glen Manor House. The town council recognizes your many accomplishments and congratulates and thanks you for your untiring efforts on behalf of our community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the town council of the town of Portsmouth, not only for itself, but on behalf of the citizens of this community, salute Catherine and Donald Wilkinson on the occasion of their retirement from public service and order this proclamation presented on the 12th day of December 2022. In recognition whereof I, as president of the Portsmouth Town Council, have hereby set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Portsmouth, Rhode Island, to be hereto affixed to this 12th day, December 22. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Oh, no comment. Thank you. Thank you very much. You want to say a few words or not? It's up to you. Oh, sure.
I'll let
I'd first of all like to say thank you for that extremely nice proclamation, which brings home to me the 30 years that we've put in on behalf of the Glen Manor House and all those people involved with it. Our work there has been varied, interesting, challenging on occasions, but has been made possible through the years by the unwavering support of the Glen Manor House Authority, who have steadfastly been on our side and helped us through the years to develop the house. And we have had great support. We've endured some challenges. We've had a very good time doing what we've been doing at the Glen. I think at last count, we've done almost 2,800 weddings there. So some people had a happy time there for sure. But anyway, thank you very much again. And on behalf of my wife, who I have to say shouldered the heavy load down at the Glen, thank you very much for your kind thoughts today. Thank you.
I just want to say, I believe that I was on the council that hired you, Mr. Gavin and I think we're both on that council. Hopefully my selections in the future will work out as well. Congratulations.
All right, we're going to be moving on. If you folks want to, I know you were here for the recognitions.
You no need to sit through the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Oh. I felt like something was missing. Thank you.
You have a meeting.
She sees it.
Yeah, I'm doing very much.
See you again. Keep meeting at these places. Don't make a commotion, John, for God's sake.
That's what he did.
Okay. Yes. Plenty of room in the front, plenty of room in the front. Sorry. Okay, next we have our consent agenda.
Mr. President, the motion to approve as presented?
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next we'll be sitting as the Board of License Commissioners. Hold on a second, out of sequence. I know, but I have my mark up. Sorry. First item is a public hearing. The transfer of Class BV alcohol beverage license, application to transfer Class BV alcoholic beverage license from KJK LLC DBA Thriving Tree Coffee House to Sunset Cove Inc. DBA Thriving Tree Coffee House, 706 Park Ave, Portsmouth. And there's two items. First, it's the application for Class BV alcoholic beverage license. Sunset Cove Inc. DBA Thriving Tree Coffee House, 706 Park Ave, Portsmouth. Mike McFarland, President. And the second part is a request approval to retain the permanent expansion of the service area to include the roped off 20-foot by 12-foot patio and a 100-foot by 70-foot lawn area comprising of approximately 7,240 square feet. Area located on the west side of the building, and also to have the service hours from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Mr. President, I move that we approve.
This is,
Well,
Public hearing.
well, you take the motion on.
We can have the
We should
motion
ask
and
if there's
have a
any
hearing.
comments first.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and just as a point of reference, when somebody else is talking, all the other.
yeah, new to it. So, yeah, so there's actually anyone coming tonight or?
Mr. McFarland's online if anybody has questions. for him.
It's their, because they're changing, the ownership, they're combining. This is why it has to be a transfer.
And as well as the public hearing.
Yeah.
So does,
There's no questions. I
Does
believe that we close the public hearing.
okay. All right, all those in favor? Nope, we gotta wait. Gonna be a
Mr.
long-
Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. So that was to close the public hearing. Now,
Motion to approve the transfer of the Class BV alcoholic beverage from KJK LLC doing business as Thriving Tree Coffee House to Sunset Cove doing business as Thriving Tree Coffee House.
And
Both the application for a BV alcoholic beverage license and an approval to retain the permanent expansion of the roped off area and the business hours from 10 to 10.
second,
motion and second. All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman.
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
aye.
Mr. Levesque, sorry.
Jen. Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. President, motion to
Not yet.
Nope.
adjourn.
We
No,
have
we
to
got-
do the
You are
victualer's
right.
license and the holiday license,
Yeah.
both for Sunset
The
Cove.
victualer's license for Sunset Cove, DBA Thriving Tree Coffee House, 706 Park Avenue, Portsmouth.
And the holiday license.
Sure, do them both.
Yep.
Sunset and motion to approve the holiday license.
Second.
Same party.
We have a second? Yes. All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Lovett,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Now a motion to adjourn of the Board of License Commissioners.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nope.
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Lovett,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Mr. McFarland, you're all set. Okay, next, well, we have minutes from
Move to
our,
approve as presented.
Second.
all those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
I'll be abstaining from the 11-14 because I wasn't here and approving the 11-28.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Lovett,
Abstaining on 11-14, and I vote to approve 11-28.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes.
And for the record, Mr. McFarland said thank you on the Zoom.
In the chat. I tried to say you're welcome, but.
Well, thank you, guys. All right, we are moving on. Town Administrator's Report, Mr. Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. President, Town Council, ladies, and gentlemen. Earlier this year, I announced Portsmouth received a community support grant from the Newport and Bristol County Convention and Visitors Bureau, known as Discover Newport, that was to be managed by our Director of Business Development and the PEDC. The grant of $7,500 is for projects meant to enhance a visitor's experience in our community. We received 5 applications that met the guidelines of the award, so each will receive $1,500. Those are Portsmouth DPW for construction of a Mount Hope Park sign, the Four Hearts Foundation to support purchasing of playground equipment, the Aquidneck Land Trust for installation of a bench at Spruce Acres Park, the Portsmouth Recreation Department to support installation of a swing set at Glen Park, and the Island Park Preservation Society to support a 2023 fireworks display. Next, we received verbal approval from Statewide Planning Division of the Portsmouth Community Comprehensive Plan. This approval is conditioned, however, on minor updates to bring some of the originally submitted data and maps up to date. If you remember, that question came up during the approval process. So those changes have now been made. They're minor, and we expect the official letter no later than January 12th. I'd like to thank everybody who came out to the second and final public workshop for the Parks and Recreation and Open Space and Facilities Master Plan. The presentation and summary of community input have been posted to the Recreation webpage, where one can also find a summary of the online community survey. Our consultant will now consolidate and analyze the data collected through interviews, the survey, research, and these workshops and produce a report for the council. We expect the delivery of that report later this winter. And then lastly, just a reminder that there will be a state required ethics training commission on Monday, January 30th at 7 p.m. And the town clerk has notified council, staff, and committee members who will be required to attend. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. It is not intended to replace the in-person ethics training, but I just want folks to know, including members of the public, that there is online training. There are online modules available at the Ethics Commission's website, which are edifying.
Thank you, Mr. Casper. Okay, we are moving on to resignations and appointments. First one is the resignation of the Harbor Commission, Mr. Gleason.
Move to accept and then welcome Mr. Gleason to the council.
I would second and thank Mr. Gleason for his service.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Lovett,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Again, resignations under the mooring assignment capital appeal for Mr. Dave Gleason.
Move to accept with regret.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have the Prudence Island Planning Commission for Mr. Hap Aldrich.
Move to accept with regret.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And next, we have the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, the resignation of Ms. Jennifer Haga.
Move to accept with regret.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. On to item number 2, which is appointments. One appointment for the Harbor Commission. I believe it's Joshua Parks.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
and Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have the Melville Park Committee. So Mr. Stephen Dunn.
Move to approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. On to the Prudence Island Planning Commission for Miss Irene Saint Germain.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next,
Hold the microphone down so it's not pointing up to the speakers. That's it. There you go.
Very sensitive, very sensitive. And then for the Prudence Island Planning Commission, it's the reappointment of Henry Peter and Ray Norton.
Move to approve both.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you all. Moving on to old business. First item is the request acceptance of Coddington Way as a public road and release of road bond conditioned on a 1-year maintenance bond equal to 5% of the $400,800 surety bond and recording the as-built plans. Mr. Woodhead.
Council President, members of the council, what you have before you, there's this item and the next item is the 2 subdivisions that have been completed. The first one is Coddington Way. The planning board has made a favorable advisory opinion to the council for the acceptance of Coddington Way. The release of, like you said, the release of the road bond for Coddington Way, that the applicant secure a 1-year maintenance bond for $20,000, which is equal to 5% of the $400,000 bond. So we're just requesting for the approval.
Mr. President,
Yes.
the letter from the recommendation letter from the, this is just a point of curiosity, really. The letter of recommendation from the planning board gave us essentially this language of the conditions, but not the, and recording the as-built plans. That's on our agenda, but not on the planning board.
The administrative secretary already records those plans in the clerk's office, so those have already been recorded.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Motion to approve the release of the road bond for Coddington Way.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levet,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And then item number 2, it's request acceptance of the extension of Vanderbilt Lane. As a
Council President, members of the council, same scenario. The planning board has made a favorable advisory opinion to the town council for acceptance of the Vanderbilt Lane extension and the release of the road bond. with the condition that the applicant secure a 1-year maintenance bond for $62,936, which is equal to 5% of the $1,259,260 bond. We're just asking for your approval for this one too.
Motion to approve.
Second, discussion on this one.
Sure.
This is the extension that it connects over to the Glen, correct?
It doesn't connect, it connects to Frank Wall Drive.
Correct.
Correct, yes, yeah.
Okay. My concern here is that was supposed to be a private neighborhood. We shouldn't be plowing this piece of the road. Because it's got a fence on the, it's got a gate on the other end. It's gated private access for residents only.
Correct. We do not take, that is part of the homeowners association, that whole section of road. We do not take any responsibility for that.
So we stop at the
The
cul-de-sac
cul-de-sac,
at the end.
that's all we do.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levet?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodhead. Okay, moving on, it's our monthly finance report.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. As of the end of October, the town is 4 months, or about a third through the fiscal year 2023. Year-to-date general fund revenues and expenditures are both at about 33% of total budget, so we're on schedule. Fiscal year 2022 audit is nearing completion, pending the actuarial report for the town pension plan and a few other items, and we'll support that effort until the final report is issued. And as noted in previous town council meetings, the finance department is closely monitoring real estate transfer fee revenue, which is trending below budget. The current impact is offset by other revenues trending above budget, and thus we'll continue to monitor and develop a plan as needed. This concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levet?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to new business. First item is to request to advertise for a public hearing for the proposed amendment to chapter 405 of zoning, article 5 use regulations, land use tables, section A14 to plan resort development, and article 8 land development projects, section D planned unit developments, 4G planned resort developments. Mr. Chappelle.
Hello, everyone. Court Chappelle for the Aquidneck Club. Congratulations, to those who are back. Welcome, certainly to our new members. This has been before the council a couple of times, because as you know, in order to do a zone change or a law change, we first come to the council. The council then refers it out to the planning board and the planning department for comment. That has been done. You've received that comment. And now it's time merely to be here to set it down for advertising. Or to set it down, I'm sorry, for a public hearing, 3 successive weeks for advertising. I believe Leah gave us the date that she wanted to put the hearing.
January 9th. Yep.
Motion to hold a public hearing on January 9th for the request of change for zoning 405, article 4, use regulations, language, whatever, yes. Wow.
5. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yep. All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levet?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
7-0. Thank you, Mr. Chappelle. See you on the 9th. Next, we have another request. It's a request to advertise for a public hearing for a sound variance for noise that may be generated by the operation of the portable liquefied natural gas equipment at 111 Old Mill Lane, Portsmouth.
This only needs one to be advertised once.
But our next meeting's not till the January 9th anyways.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we advertise for the
Second.
evening.
All right, motion in a second. All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levet?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Next, it's a request for town council approval for 3 Rhode Island Energy easements to perform work on school property related to the bond projects. Dr. Kenworthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Here if there are any questions, but we are assured by our owner's project manager for our bond construction projects that this is a formality. Anytime National Grid has to come on to, in this case, school department property to do this work. So the 3 requests, which will carry us over through the next couple of summers at Millville, Hathaway, and Portsmouth High School are all having work done. Mostly they're related to HVAC projects that will require National Grid to come on site at different points of those projects.
Specifically to probably place new poles and new service in order to power the new projects for the air conditioning for the 2 schools and the field house. So move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levat?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Kenworthy. Okay. Next item. It's that time.
Mr. President.
We're going to assignment of town
No,
council.
no,
What?
we're volunteering.
Yes. So,
Mr. President.
voluntold?
If I may, I am currently liaison on the Economic Development Committee. I'd like to continue on in that. Also, the West Side Development Advisory Committee, I'm liaison to that. I would like to continue there. And seeming to be sort of consistent with that pile of work is the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission, liaison for that as well.
Okay. So we have, just to, let me back up 1 second. There's 16 committees. 7 of us, but if everyone was comfortable with their, and I can go through them quickly. Yeah, no, that's okay. So on the agriculture, and I'm just going to summarize, on the agricultural committee was Mr. Hamilton. Aquidneck Island Planning Commission was Ms. Suchafuza, there's a vacancy there. Bristol Ferry Town Common was Mr. Kelly, so there's a vacancy there.
We didn't dissolve them. I thought we dissolved them last summer. No?
Nope.
So the Bristol Ferry Town Common.
They actually have a meeting on Thursday.
Okay. So we have a vacancy there. If on the Conservation Commission, we had Ms. Abbott. Dog Park Committee was Mr. Hamilton. Economic Development Committee was actually myself and Mr. Katzman, and we added a second person because the first person being me could never make it I had a very hard time getting to the 5 o'clock meetings. It's just my work. Rarely am I home by 5:30. So thank you, Mr. Katzman. Harbor Commission was Mr. Hamilton.
Yeah, I would like to offer that to Mr. Gleason since he just got off the committee. He can now liaise with him.
I would gladly accept the Harbor Commission.
All right. Melville Committee was myself and Dr. Ryan, and
Yeah, I'll continue on. I'll try to make more meetings this time.
Newport Chamber of Commerce was Mr. Hamilton. Parks and Recs was Ms. Abbott and Mr. Katzman.
No, Mr. Kelly. Was he on it?
No, it's Andrew, yeah.
It was Andrew.
So it's Mr. Kelly.
Was it?
Yes.
Sorry. That was just a test.
Swing sets, playground system.
Exactly.
All right. Pension Investment Committee is Mr. Hamilton, myself. Portsmouth Senior Center was Ms. Ujifusa, so there'll be a vacancy there. School Building Committee was myself and Mr. Hamilton. Solid Waste Committee and Recycling Committee was Dr. Ryan.
More than happy to continue talking trash.
All right. Tree Commission, we had Mr. Kelly and Dr. Ryan. Is that, I mean, that's what I had. Could be
Yes.
wrong.
Not that we really needed that, but
As long as we have at least one member.
yes.
And then on the West Side Development Advisory Committee was Mr. Katz. So we, yes,
I am willing to, set a designation if it's available and no one else has any preference to the Equinity Island Planning Commission. And I need a swing set. So to the Parks and Recreation Committee.
so
Again, to the Equinity Island Planning Commission and to the Parks and Recreation. I'm deferring to it for a second to Mr. Gleason. I don't know if he had an interest in either of those.
No, those are fine for you to take, obviously. I would ask to take Andrew's spot on the Bristol Ferry.
Okay.
Committee, do that.
thank you.
And Senior Center is
Senior
open.
Center. Yep, senior center would
So
still be open.
that puts me on 3 committees. What else was open here?
I don't know if there's any other open ones, if everyone else is able to still continue on. Did I miss one?
I got dog park is me.
So, yeah, there's Hamilton Head. I mean, if somebody wants to be on a backup, I mean, in case the counselor can't make it, that's always.
Yes.
I know.
So is that kind of like if Miss America cannot perform the duty? One of us
Yeah.
steps in?
Correct.
That's a good way to look at it.
I'm right, that would make me sad.
You can put my name on that.
For
Conservation.
conservation.
Backup.
We,
All right,
so I have
Okay,
a backup on both of mine.
you do? And
Good work.
I'll try to, I will try. I mean, obviously, I think it's important that we, as the liaisons, try to attend the meetings as we, you know, as our availability allows. So it's important. And I say that because I miss more than I make. But it is important that we try, and the groups know that. But thank you all for your
Mr. Aguirre,
participation.
just run through them.
Sure.
That'd be
Okay.
great.
So for agriculture, I have Mr. Hamilton.
Yep.
For AIPC, I have Mr. Katzman and Mr. Levet.
Yep.
Bristol
Correct.
Ferry Town Common, I have Mr. Gleason.
Correct.
Conservation Commission, I have Ms. Abbott and Mr. Gleason.
Correct.
Dog Park, I have Mr. Hamilton.
Correct.
Economic Development, I have Mr. Aguirre and Mr. Katzman.
You have at least Mr. Cat. I'll try.
Harbor Commission, I have Mr. Gleason. Mellow Park, I have Dr. Ryan and Mr. Aguirre.
Yes.
The Newport Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Hamilton. Parks and Rec, Ms. Abbott and Mr. Levet. Pension Investment, Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Aguirre. Senior Center, Mr. Gleason. School Committee, I have Mr. Katzman.
No.
No, okay,
Hamilton and Aguirre,
okay,
more the building committee
Yeah,
and the
school
school
building.
committee.
got it,
School building committee.
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Solid Waste, I have Dr. Ryan. Tree Commission, I have Dr. Ryan, and West Side Development, I have Mr. Katzman.
That's what I got.
Mr. Aguirre, can I ask Mr. Hamilton? How busy is the dog park? Because I actually enjoyed, I went by the dog park and thought it was great.
They're very aggressive. They're expanding. They're gonna put a path
Park
through
of
the
the
woods.
dogs.
They're gonna make the new fence, the bigger fenced area. They're probably of all these committees, the most active
And it-
outside
okay,
of
well,
Melville Park.
Forget I asked.
I don't know if we can retract the video.
They are doing a great job, but they are
Yeah.
very, very active.
Yeah, no, they're doing good things down there for the dog.
I more stay out of the way than anything else.
All right.
Oh.
I had the discretion not.
Stricken from the record. All right, next item. New business number 5. It's a request to advertise for a public hearing for proposed amendment to chapter 364 tobacco products.
With the December 1st approval or beginning of the availability of people to be able to smoke marijuana and also the continual vaping, I just think it's something we need to update to make sure that people aren't inundated by tobacco, marijuana and vaping products while they're sitting on the beach with their kids. So I would ask that we advertise for this.
Could I just ask a question? Chief, would this simplify enforcement if all of these products were covered under this ordinance? So you wouldn't have to see what's hanging out of somebody's mouth.
Yes, sir. I agree. If something like this could be enacted, it would simplify things for the officers that handle the situation.
So a motion to advertise for, you need 3 nights or just one,
Just one.
so January 9th?
Second.
Or do you want to do this on the 23rd if the this one should be quick. The other 2 might not so much be.
No, that's the noise ordinance.
I don't want to be inundated with marijuana. That's all I know.
Yeah, well, the vaping's just as bad,
We think.
It's up to you.
January 9th.
So we have,
Uh,
no, what?
is there a second?
Who's the second?
I seconded.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin, for listening to me.
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levet?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 6, it's a request approval to reappoint Richard D. Ardaro okay, Esquire as municipal court judge. Mr. Rayner.
Dario. Real famous name, by the way. His family does the Dario strings, guitar strings. Which I use. In accordance with the municipal court ordinance adopted by the council in 2013, the municipal court judge is appointed by the town council. Judge Richard Daddario's current appointment expires on December 31st. Each appointment is for 2 years. The stipend for the judge is currently $4,500 per year. There's been a steady increase in municipal court activity since the adoption of the court in 2013. Moreover, we anticipate that the municipal court will begin hearing building code violations in the next year, which has the potential to significantly increase the judge's caseload. Judge Daddario has agreed to remain on the bench if reappointed, but is asking for an increased compensation package to $9,000. I respectfully ask that the council reappoint Judge Daddario to the municipal court with compensation equal to $9,000 annually. The increase for the remainder of this fiscal year will be prorated and paid through the contingency fund. That amount would be $4,500.
Mr. President, I know Mr. Daddario. I know that he is an extraordinarily good attorney. I've actually appeared before him as a probate judge. And I believe that the 4,000, Joe Lopes did it forever for $2,000, which was ridiculous.
He's still
does.
doing it for that.
He still does probate for $2,000 a year.
He still, what's that?
He still does probate for
Judge
2,000.
Lopes won't take more.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a great man. So anyway, I am a little apprehensive about making a change in the compensation in the mid. Is it not usual to do it at the time of the,
It normally
putting
would be,
together the budget?
yes. Both judges were asked prior to the adoption of the last budget what their input was for the budget. The budget reflects the input that we got. Unfortunately, he has made the decision that he needs increased compensation based on the increased workload that he's currently experiencing and what we expect to happen in the next year. And his appointment does go into effect January. So he's asking that that package would go into effect this January.
Very well. I mean, I'm sure the court actually generates many more fees than represented by a $9,000 stipend. So I certainly, and I know his quality. I respect the position you're in terms of doing it. So, Mr. President, if it's appropriate, I would make a motion that we, in fact, extend Mr. Daddario's contract for, I guess it's a 2-year period, and increases compensation to the amount of $9,000.
Second.
Discussion, please. Mr. Rayner, could you tell us approximately how much money does come in on the municipal court system, please?
That's right about even at the moment. Year to date is about $2,200 and year to date pay is about $2,200. A little over.
So he's roughly covering himself, just for the point of reference. Like communities, Cumberland is about $8,400. Charlestown is $7,500. Bristol is $7,500 in terms of compensation for their judges, so. It's not completely out of line, and if it covers itself. I guess we look at it for a year and find out.
We have a motion and a second.
And apparently, just Mr. President, so apparently I was mistaken. He does not handle the probate matters. I thought he had at one point been hired for that.
He fills in if there's a conflict with Judge Lopes.
Oh, okay, so he, and the other point I would make, municipal courts actually, as I'm sure you well know, it can be extremely valuable in zoning enforcement, whatever that we give them to do. Housing enforcement, I believe they're going to be going into housing code. And really, Mr. Daddario is a very even-handed person to handle those things. So I think it's a valuable asset for the town to have a person of his quality. So again, while I misspoke earlier, I certainly believe it's an appropriate motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Levesque, sorry,
Aye.
and Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Moving on. It's a request approval to award on-call miscellaneous construction and roadway repairs to East Coast Landscaping and Construction. Mr. Woodhead.
Council President, members of the council, our on-call miscellaneous construction and rotary repairs that is expired. We were trying to get on the last council meeting, but you guys all got sworn in, so that's great. But we just want to put it on this council agenda. We had two bidders do it, East Coast Construction and Hartford Paving. So I would like I put back up in there so you can review both of them. I just would like to request the town council to award the contract for the P-23-006 miscellaneous construction and rotary repair to East Coast Construction.
So moved.
Mr. President,
Yep.
again, I don't want to belabor this. East Coast Construction has been, I think, doing this type of work for the town almost since I can remember. And it is an on-call emergency basis. The other concern was, I believe, out of Pawtucket or out of northern Rhode Island. And East Coast, as most of you know, is local. So I certainly wholeheartedly support this idea, and I also think they were the best bid.
Thank you. We had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levesque?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay. New business number 8. It's a request to renew the Potter League contract. Chief Peters.
Mr. President, members of the council, I'm here tonight to request approval to renew the current contract with Potter League for animals. The current contract that we have with them expires June 30th, 2023. Requesting to renew this for a 3-year term. The terms remain in effect. The only difference would be the compensation. It would increase from the current $40,000 to $42,000, which would be locked in for a 3-year period.
I move approval of the proposal to extend the contract at the minimal increase to $42,000.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levesque?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And last item, number 9, it's request approval for a letter of support regarding the fiscal year 2022 FEMA Building Resiliency Infrastructure and Communities BRIC grant application for a regional hazard mitigation plan for Aquidneck Island, and to confirm that Portsmouth will contribute a 10% match, approximately $7,500. Is Leah online or? Leah, any questions? Can you help us? with the grant? Letter of
Um,
support?
Good evening, everybody. I am putting this letter together as a request to work with the other municipalities on Aquidneck Island, including Middletown and Newport, to do a coordinated hazard mitigation plan. As you folks may know, our hazard mitigation plan expires January 31st of 2024. So we're starting the process of looking towards obtaining grant money to put together a regional hazard mitigation plan. And this 10% is the amount of money that we'd have to contribute to a project that could ultimately cost about $75,000 to do.
Okay, and the, just for a refresher, the hazard mitigation plan, if ours expires and we get this one and we're part of the regional plan, that's what allows us to go for additional FEMA funding and things of that nature, correct?
That is absolutely correct. If we let our hazard mitigation plan expire, we won't have the opportunity to obtain grant money from disasters, nor'easters, so on and so forth.
Motion to approve, and I believe there's already the money has been allocated in the planning budget for the.
That's correct. Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levesque?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Okay, now we're gonna move on to correspondence.
Move to receive and place on file.
Seconded.
Mr. President, if I may interrupt for a second, I believe as a motion to receive and place on file, I need not excuse myself, but I did file a notice with the clerk that I have a potential conflict with respect to Mayflower Wind, as they have contacted my family and are seeking an easement, Boyd's Lane, for part of their plan if it goes forward. So I will participate in this decision to receive and place on file, but otherwise I will be recusing.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Levesque. Okay, so we have a motion to receive and place on file. All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levesque?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have future meetings, January 9th, 23rd, 30th, and then February 13th. And just a reminder that January 9th, we have a couple of public hearings, so we'll be prepared for a lengthy evening. Potentially lengthy evening.
School committee initial budget meeting, is that gonna be on the 23rd? We have the dual meeting,
The joint,
the dog and pony show between the school committee and
Right,
Mr. Rayner.
no, it's in the budget calendar. I can't remember off the top of my head.
it's the 23rd.
It's on that same thing.
While you guys are stalling for time, I'll try to look it up.
Well, the only thing left on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
Well, and just a point of general privilege. I participate in a lot of presentations by the school committee, Councilman, and I don't consider it a dog and pony show. I consider it very significant. Okay, and I know you do. I apologize.
The initial one's kind of a,
I haven't seen a pony yet.
yeah,
It's more of the legislative, it's a combination of the state legislator.
right, and
School
that's
committee
something
joint.
we forgot to put on the agenda for this, was to, so folks might want to start thinking about things we can ask the legislator to do that they never
Yes.
do for us.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I will tell you, as a legislator who attended those, I always found them to be fascinating, and I'm very appreciative what the town council wanted me to do. I forgot about it a lot, though.
You weren't alone.
Adjourn and seconded.
Not until you turn your microphone on.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. Hey, all those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Levesque?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Thank you all. Have a happy, safe holiday season. We'll see you next year.